Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the Elimination Chamber report for 2021 WWE. This network purview, there's some good stuff on it, and then there's the same old trope of writing that they think is storytelling that's just abysmally bad. To be fair, I watched um, after falling asleep during the show. I had to go back and watch some more of it, but I missed about maybe half an hour. But with fast forwarding through useless packages, I was able to catch up pretty quickly. But anyway, much more invaluable to watch the Sasha Banks Stone Cold Steve Austin podcast than this show. There's one or two useful things on the show. The rest of it's complete throwaway, as is normal with the February pay-per-view in WWE anyway. So they open the free-for-all with a fatal four-way match, the winner of which goes on to the join a three-way in the U.S. title match, because we have to have a three-way. We can't just have two people going at it, and I gotta grab my phone. At the end of the day, after being a fan for 32 years, in the business at the independent level for 12, I continually get my intelligence insulted watching this product. And I know there's lots of people who sit there and say, well, why do you watch? Because I support pro wrestling and pro wrestlers. I don't support bad storytelling. Anyway, fatal four-way championship match, U.S. title, uh, opportunity on the line. Again, another stupid thing. Why can't we just have a one-on-one match for the U.S. title? No, we can't do that because it's not creative enough. No, we can't do that because we're lazy bookers and we want to add intrigue just for the sake of intrigue. So, anyway, fatal four-way on the pre-show. Morrison defeats Ricochet, Mustafa Ali with Retribution and Elias. Why is Elias even out there? I understand the use of Morrison, Ricochet, and Ali, but why did... Anyway, so Ricochet nails Ali with a dropkick right at the bell. Morrison and Elias go after Ricochet, and then he gets onto the floor. Ricochet attempts to dive to the floor. Ali cuts him off, and then Ali jumps, hits a neckbreaker on Morrison, and hits an inverted DDT on Elias at the same time. And then Elias hits an inverted DDT on Ricochet at the same time. Too much choreographing in chaos. Elias hits a jumping knee on Ali. Slapjack breaks it up. Elias attempts a powerbomb on Ricochet. Morrison hits a springboard kick. Morrison hits a springboard kick on Elias, and then he takes over. He misses a Starship Pain on Ricochet. Really would like to actually see Morrison and Ricochet one-on-one in a program, but that's a bit of a dream. Anyway, Ricochet fires up, goes nuts on all the heels, hits a German on Morrison. Elias and Ali break that up. Ali hits a Tornado DDT on Elias. Ricochet hits a 450 for near fall. Ricochet attempts a dive. Mason T-Bar catch him. They powerbomb him onto the ring post. And then Morrison rolls up for the win. Why a roll-up win? Why can't somebody win with a finish? Why can't somebody win with something wrestling-related rather than a roll-up that we've seen literally 178 times in the last 12 months? They don't care. Like, there's no way that the people writing this can care about the entertainment value of what's here. Anyway, we go to the main show, which, as mentioned, had some good stuff, had some bad stuff. Okay. Anyway, Elimination Chamber opens the show. Daniel Bryan defeats Cesaro, Jey Uso, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, and King Corbin. This is pretty cool. Sami Zayn enters the pod. Referee forces the documentary crew to leave. Referee won't let them stay. Daniel Bryan and Cesaro are the first entering the pod. Cesaro catches Bryan with a tilt-a-whirl backbreaker, gets a near fall out of that. Bryan recovers, backdrops Cesaro to the ringside area. He hits a flying knee and a missile dropkick. Cesaro comes back. He works over Bryan's knee for a while. Bryan locks on an armbar. Cesaro counters into a near fall. Cesaro nails Bryan with an uppercut, and then hits a delayed vertical suplex for a near fall again. To be honest, Cesaro probably looked the best of this match of everyone in there. King Corbin's in next from his chamber. Why he's even in the match, I do not understand. If somebody can give me a compelling reason, I might buy a case of beer or something. Like, I don't even understand why he would be in this position. Anyway, Corbin misses a charge in the corner, and Bryan hits a running drop kick on Cesaro, and then Cesaro comes back with some uppercuts. Corbin recovers, hits a deep six on both guys. So now we've killed his finish. Not that Baron Corbin's finish really matters for anything, but still we killed it. Drives Bryan knee into Zayn's pod. Ouch. And then Corbin targets Bryan's injured knee. They've told a good story with the knee from the beginning. Sami Zayn is next to enter. His chamber wouldn't let the door open. Corbin tries to get in the chamber. Bryan attacks him from behind. Zayn didn't realize the other side of the pod was open. And so Cesaro walks in, nails him with a bunch of uppercuts. Zayn attempts a kick on the outside of the ring. Bryan moves. Zayn kicks Kevin Owens' pod. They do the obligatory let's beat up the pod thing that they do every Elimination Chamber that's now old. It was cool the first few times we saw it. Now it's actually expected and kind of dumb. Anyway, Corbin takes over, hits a superplex on Bryan. Zayn recovers and hits a tornado DDT on Cesaro. Zayn and Cesaro end up on top of Jey Uso's pod. Cesaro hits Zayn with a series of uppercuts. Remember when Zayn and Cesaro had a really good match on NXT several years ago and there was all the hope in the world for them? I do. Anyway, Zayn pokes Cesaro in the eye. Cesaro chases him across the pods. And Corbin takes over. Cesaro fights back. Hits a twisting uppercut into a giant swing. Cesaro locks on the sharpshooter. Eliminates Corbin. Well, at least he's gone early. Kevin Owens is next to enter. Zayn tries to convince Owens to work with him. That doesn't work out for him. Owens attacks Zayn and sends him flying into the pod, which actually with their history makes sense. Anyhow, Owens goes nuts on Cesaro and Bryan, and Bryan jumps on his back, goes for a sleeper. Owens hits a senton on Cesaro with Bryan still on his back, which was kind of a cool looking spot. Zayn and Owens fight to the top turnbuckle. Zayn attempts crossbody. Owens avoids and hits a super kick. Owens then hits a cannonball on all four guys. Everyone hits a move on each other. Jey Uso comes in. He's the final entrant for the match. Owens and Uso go at it. Owens sends Uso into one of the pods. They're over-relying on the pods, but what do they care? Anyway, Owens hits a moonsault from the top of the pod onto everybody that's down there, and then hits a stunner on Bryan and Cesaro. Zayn attempts a kick, but Owens avoids it and hits a stunner, eliminating Zayn. Again, why does Kevin Owens need to use Steve Austin's finish to remind us that he's no Steve Austin? Anyway, Zayn leaves the chamber. Uso slams the door on Owens' arm, traps him in. Uso then hits a series of super kicks on Owens, and then hits a frog splash to eliminate Owens. Okay, this is fine. Uso attempts a dive. Cesaro nails him with an uppercut, follows up on the elbow from the top for near fall. Cesaro then hits a swing. Uso kind of sends him into the side of the chamber. Bryan and Cesaro are going at it in the middle of the ring. Cesaro attempts an uppercut. Bryan counters. Backslide, near fall. I mean, Bryan looks good here for what it is, knowing that he's near the end of his career. Good for him, I suppose. Anyway, Bryan sets up a running knee. Cesaro reverses into a torture rack. Bryan rolls up Cesaro for near fall. Bryan climbs top rope. Cesaro cuts him off with an uppercut and then hits a gut buster from the top rope. Ouch. Uh, Cesaro gives Bryan a one-legged giant swing. Uso nails Cesaro with a super kick, follows up with a frog splash. He eliminates Cesaro. Uso hits a frog splash on Bryan. Uso attempts frog splash from the top of the pod. Bryan moves. He hits a running knee and wins the Elimination Chamber. This was cool. I mean, if they didn't do what was next, then this would have been cool. Roman Reigns runs in and basically calls for the match between him and Bryan. Bryan can't really get to his feet. Roman dominates. Um, and then obviously the focus is on where Reigns goes after this. So why waste this? Why not have Bryan versus Reigns as a full match on SmackDown? Bryan struggles to get to his feet and ensures the referee that he's ready to go. Bryan kind of dodges a spear and then counters into a yes lock. Reigns powers out, slams Bryan down, takes over. Reigns continues to beat him up. Bryan locks on the guillotine, uh, or gets locked in the guillotine, almost looking for the win. Reigns is posing with the title after the match as he wins with the guillotine. Edge jumps in the ring and he spears Reigns. Edge whispers something. He points at the WrestleMania sign. Pyro goes off, so that's our announcement. Michael Cole and Corey Graves, who are just horrible and were on mute for most of the show for me, do give us the hint that, in fact, thanks to the glories of closed captioning, that Edge and Reigns is most likely the main event for WrestleMania 37. In the back, Sonya Deville spoke to the 24/7 champion Bad Bunny. Can't believe I said those words in the same sentence configuration. Miss Approach notes that he saw Bad Bunny on Saturday Night Live. Bad Bunny makes fun of the Miz for not being a champion. Well, Anyway, in the back, Miz shoves him. Bunny responds with a slap. Miz turns around and Damian Priest standing in his way. Anyway, we go to a triple threat match. Remember how we didn't need that? Yeah, still true. Anyway, Riddle finally gets some main roster love as he defeats Morrison and Bobby Lashley for the U.S. Championship. It was a flat triple threat match. This could have been better. One-on-one. MVP comes out on crutches due to his injury, which you just said. Lashley dominates early. He sends Riddle to the floor, knocks Morrison off the apron. Lashley picks up Morrison, torture rack, and sends him into the ring post. Riddle tries to jump on the steps. Lashley catches him, hits a huge suplex. Lashley attempts a suplex. Morrison saves Riddle. Lashley takes everybody out and is dominant. Riddle then goes with Morrison. They go to the floor to come up with a game plan. They work together against Lashley for a bit. Lashley charges at Riddle, avoids him, sends him to the floor. Notice everybody goes to the floor because three-way matches are basically all the same. Morrison hits a dive onto Lashley. Riddle hits a dive as well, which, why is Riddle, who can actually knock people out, why is he doing dives in the middle of nowhere with no people? Anyway, Morrison pushes Riddle into the ring post. Riddle hits a forearm on Morrison, follows up with a suplex. Riddle misses a standing moonsault, but hits a senton. Riddle then catches Lashley with a flash knee and a floating bro. Morrison again sends Riddle to the outside and hits a Starship Pain for a near fall on the inside on the champion. Basically, MVP makes fun of Morrison for thinking he could win. Morrison gets in MVP's face, takes his crutch. Lashley avoids the crutch, catches Morrison with a hurt lock. Riddle comes into the ring, breaks the crutch over Lashley's back. Apparently, this was no DQ somewhere along the way. Riddle then hits the Bro Derek on Morrison to win the U.S. title. Notice Lashley didn't lose. I guess that means that Lashley and Riddle will be part of the next few network reviews. They officially confirm Edge versus Reigns for Mania 37. Women's tag match for the tag team championships. Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler defeat Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair to win the titles. Match was fine. There's some dissension between Banks and Belair, but that makes sense. They recap that Reginald pins Jax on SmackDown. Babyfaces have the early advantage. Jax catches Banks and throws her, but Belair caught her partner and then nails Jax with Banks' legs. Innovative offense there. Heels take over, and they isolate Banks in their corner. Baszler slows down the pace and goes for the arm of Banks. Banks fights off and attempts a series of pin attempts on Baszler. By the way, if you haven't seen the Steve Austin podcast with Sasha Banks, it's worth going out of your way to see. Really telling things, and I like Sasha more walking away from it than I did before, and I liked her before. Anyway, Banks hits a frog splash on Baszler for near fall. Banks nails Baszler with a knee, and Belair hits the kiss of death. Jax breaks it up. Belair comes back and tries to lift Jax, but she counters with a slam. Jax hits a Samoan drop on Belair, but Banks makes the blind tag. Banks hits Meteor for a close near fall. Reginald, who obviously still has a crush on, Sasha Banks, interferes, comes to ringside, bottle of champagne. Banks locks on the bank statement on Jax, but the flow gets broken. Reginald then throws the bottle to Banks. She refuses it. Jax then jumps Banks from behind, hits a Samoan drop for the win. I don't know, this felt flat. It really felt flat. Anyway, so then we go to the main event. See how uneventful this show really is, that we're already on the main event match. Although there is an addendum at the end, which is going to make me pull out my hair. Raw Elimination Chamber, McIntyre defeats Sheamus, Hardy, Orton, Kingston, and AJ Styles with almost. Nice enough chamber match. Slow start, but it does come out with a decent ending to it, at least a little bit. Orton and Hardy are the first two in. Can't believe both of these guys over 40 are, opening this type of match. They keep the pace slow. Orton has an early advantage. Hardy fights back. Orton regains control with the Greco-Roman poke to the eye. Orton slows it down even further. Chinlock. Hardy recovers, hits a splash for a near fall. McIntyre is the next entrant. He goes nuts on Hardy and Orton. McIntyre and Hardy get thrown across the ring. Suplexes and a neckbreaker on Orton. McIntyre sends Orton into one of the chambers, and then sends Hardy into Kofi's pod. McIntyre yells at the cameraman to move. He doesn't. Orton catches McIntyre with a draping DDT. He takes over. Kingston's the next one in. Kingston and Orton go at it for a while in the middle of the ring. Kingston rolls up Orton and eliminates him out of nowhere. Surprised, although, I guess that tells a good story in the sense that they didn't want to stay with Orton too long. Orton hits an RKO on Hardy and Kingston. Styles then has almost break his pod so Styles could get into the chamber sooner. Styles scores near falls on both of the baby faces. Adam Pearce comes out and orders almost back. Styles isolates Kingston and tosses him out of the ring. Kingston fights back, at one point hitting a monkey flip on Styles into the side of the chamber. McIntyre takes over, catches Kingston with a suplex for near fall. They fight around ringside. McIntyre suplexes Kingston into the side of the chamber. They are relying way too much on the chambers. McIntyre goes after Styles, hits a backdrop on him. Sheamus is the final entrance into this thing, which, oh my gosh, why is Sheamus even here? McIntyre and Sheamus go pretty snug with each other. At least they're friends and they're enjoying being in there with each other. That's the only good thing I can really say about this. Um, McIntyre goes after Sheamus. They both get tangled in the ropes. Styles and Kingston roll on the other side of the ring. Sheamus and McIntyre continue to trade snug shots. Styles throws Kingston off, but McIntyre gets driven into Sheamus again. Sheamus and Kingston fight on the top turnbuckle. Kingston ends up on top of the pod. Sheamus tries to stop him. McIntyre gives Sheamus a superplex. And then Styles and Hardy also get a double power bomb off the same move. I hate these contrived 4, 5, 6-way spots. Anyway, Kingston dives off the top rope onto all 4 guys in the ring. Kingston hits Sheamus with a boot to the face. He attempts to dive. Sheamus catches him. Sheamus hits a bro kick, eliminates Kingston. This was sad. Hardy goes nuts, hits Twist of Fate on McIntyre for a near fall, hits Twist of Fate on Styles to set up a Swanton off the pod. Remember, we're using the pod too much. Styles rolls out of the way. Hardy adjusts, hits a Whisper in the wind on McIntyre and Sheamus. Hardy then hits a Swanton on Styles. McIntyre hits Claymore kick to Hardy, eliminates him. At least that makes sense. Sheamus then gets a near fall on his buddy McIntyre. Glasgow kiss on Sheamus, but recovers and hits White Noise. Basically, we're killing finishes again. Styles attempts a springboard 450. McIntyre is out of position for it. Styles hits a Swanton type move. Styles then hits a springboard 450 on McIntyre near fall. Sheamus shifts his attention to Styles. He gets frustrated. Styles then eliminate McIntyre and then sets a brogue kick on Styles. McIntyre hits the Future Shock DDT. McIntyre goes to the Claymore. Sheamus hits a brogue kick. Styles hits a Phenomenal Forearm on Sheamus to eliminate him. That comes out of nowhere. Please tell me that doesn't mean there's a program between Styles and Sheamus coming, because that would be a waste of Styles. Styles goes for the Phenomenal Forearm. McIntyre counters into it with a Claymore in midair. He retains an Elimination Chamber. Post-match, Bobby Lashley jumps McIntyre as he's celebrating. Lashley beat down McIntyre all the way around ringside and then locks on the Hurt Lock. Miz defeats Drew McIntyre to win the WWE Championship. Miz runs out with the referee, cashes in Money in the Bank contract. McIntyre struggles to get to his feet. Miz attacks McIntyre, hits DDT from the near fall, and then hits a skull-crushing finale for the win. Miz celebrates with the title to win the Elimination Chamber. Look, I know they're just doing a, let's for a month give it to Miz because we got to pay off this stupid Elimination Chamber, Money in the Bank contract thing that we didn't really have a plan for to begin with. But McIntyre at this point is going to be a 3-time champion, because there's no way that this doesn't go into him and Lashley. But anyway, it's stupid. It's story cluttering just for the sake of cluttering, and I hated this finish. I hated the idea that Miz, and it's not even, I hate the idea the guy that's been there for 15 years is still on top. Enough to be champion even for a few days. It's disrespectful to all the talents that are trying to get ahead. Miz is just so desperate for attention, he'll take any crumb of a storyline they give him, and it's abysmal. Anyway, we'll be back with more right after this.